Welcome to Let's Talk Nourishment, where we go beyond food and into the habits that truly nourish. I'm Abigail Parker, nutritional therapy practitioner, here to help you simplify wellness. And welcome to episode 1. We're doing this for the first time. And it's really amazing if you think about all the firsts that you get to have in life and that you get to continuously have them throughout life. But doing something for the first time is a little intimidating. So we are just doing it. And I'm going to joke with you because the reason that I'm here is because I have this awesome new business mentor, and he was like, you should start your own show. And as I'm nodding and being like, okay, my brain is going, no, I have no desire to do that. What is he, crazy? And of course, here I am now. So I've gotten past that because as I thought about it, it really makes sense. I know I have been doing nutrition coaching for almost 3 years, and I also love to do presentations. And when I'm in that environment, I'm really a listening ear, or I am providing the information that somebody has asked of me, versus here, I get to talk about whatever I want, and I get to put everything together just on my own, thinking what I think you want to hear. And to kind of think about it that way, it's really cool. But that gets into the real reason that I decided to do this, not just because somebody told me to, but because I'm so tired of health and healthy eating being complicated. Whenever something is complicated, you either never start because you don't know where to start, or you end up constantly getting back to square one and having to start over. And we don't do that here. We keep moving forward. So that is something that I am really excited about, is simplifying what health and wellness means with you being here. And I know that you have a lot of resources that you can look to for information, and I'm so excited you're here. I'm going to be very upfront with you that I am not a funny person. I am not entertaining. If you liked my joke already about, well, somebody told me to start a podcast, so that's why I am, that's about as good as my humor gets. And that's been something that I've had to come to terms with, that I'm not the funny person that people are going to go to looking for a laugh. But instead, what I'm going to do is I really like to motivate you. I really like to make you feel good about yourself. And so if you enjoyed that, then I'm so glad you're here. So the real reason that I decided to start a podcast is to make it so that health and healthy eating and wellness is not complicated anymore, to simplify it for you. And so if you've tried to eat better, you know that it doesn't happen overnight. I have been in the wellness space for 5 years holistically, longer than that if you count. I previously worked in healthcare. And so that was my first job that I had straight out of college. I landed my dream job working in MRI at a children's hospital. And I was so excited to help people. If I could have, I would have loved to have been a surgeon, but I didn't want to get up and close with the body and touching things. And so MRI was the next best thing, where I could see what was going on in the body and help people without having to actually touch all of the things. And so I was so excited until about 5 years ago. There was a little thing going on that made the world slow down and things started to change. And so during this time of change, being in a children's hospital, luckily kids weren't getting very sick. And so I wasn't working as much, and social media was blowing up. And so I found myself spending more time scrolling my phone. And of course, I was in the health and wellness space. Somehow I found a video that changed the course of my life. My life would be completely different if I had not seen this one video. And what it talked about was something called aspartame. If you've never heard of aspartame, it is an artificial sweetener. And so it's used in diet products, supposed to be better for you. So diet soda has it, zero free, sugar free. Those are going to be things that are having it. And I found it even in my sugar free water that I was drinking. And what stood out was that I learned that it could impact your chance of developing Alzheimer's later in life. And Alzheimer's is something that I've blatantly been fearful of. My grandpa passed away when I was 21 with Alzheimer's. And I knew that I had a great grandpa on the other side of the family that had Alzheimer's. And then more recently, my grandma actually passed away with dementia on the other side of my family, too. So it's on both sides of my family. And so it was something that I had a really hard time coming to terms with when my grandpa had it, and then developed this concern of, well, this is going to be my fate someday, too. And so when I learned that what I'm doing now, my choices that I'm making could make it so that potentially I don't have to go through that, I couldn't look away from this. I had to dive in and learn more about nutrition. Nutrition for me was something that I never really cared about. I ate whatever I wanted. I knew that food was calories, and so some foods had more calories than other, which meant that you should focus on lower calorie foods. But it wasn't anything that I knew would really have such an impact on me until this moment. And so I got really excited to learn more about the power of food. And I got really into nutrition being something that matters for the life ahead of you. Because if you're eating for today, today is such a small moment in time versus all that you have ahead of you. And so, whenever I think about health and wellness and healthy eating, I think about not wanting to be a burden later in life and wanting to live life as long as I can to the best of my abilities. And so, I hope that's something that as I'm talking about it, you're thinking how wonderful that would be too. Thinking about being able to do all the things you enjoy. For me, I love to travel. And so thinking about all the traveling that I can do and thinking about being able to play on the floor with family members and not have to worry about struggling to get up and just all the life ahead. So when I got into nutrition and I really wanted to learn more, I, of course, started to make changes for myself initially. It became really apparent how bad my sweet tooth was. And so I got caught up in trying to cut out sugar. And it was really hard. If you've ever tried to diet and cut out food, you know that it's not something that you just make the decision and you're like, yep, done, no problem. And so I went through this back and forth struggle of trying to cut it out and eat healthy, quote unquote, and then feel guilty because I wasn't enjoying food. I was making myself not eat stuff that I wanted to. And then I'd tell myself, well, I could have just a little. And then it would turn into, well, I just ate two full brownies and I have no control. So that was really hard for me. And luckily, I got down the path of wanting to learn so much about nutrition that I ended up getting into a nutrition program. And I started to really learn about healthy eating. And that completely again changed my life because I got rid of my sugar cravings whenever I started to learn how to eat for my body. Something that went kind of hand in hand at this time too was I started to struggle with my weight. It had never been an issue for me until this point in time after college. And I suddenly was starting to gain weight and my pants weren't fitting as well. And I did not like that. I didn't like the feeling of sitting and I could feel my stomach bulging. And so that's when I really had tried to eat better too. And whenever I got into my nutrition program and started to learn how to eat appropriately, this was something that quit being an issue. My weight has not been a struggle ever since. The cravings have not been a struggle ever since. And I'm even so much more aware of my energy levels. I have more energy than I used to have. And you don't realize how good you can have it, I think, until it happens. And so thinking about where I'm at now and how I got here, there's been a lot in the process. There's a lot that can happen in 5 years' time. And so I've gone through a lot of the healthy eating overwhelm and a lot into the diet culture of thinking that eggs are good for you one day and then another day they're not. And I love to simplify that and look more at what are foods doing to benefit you? And yes, that plays along with physical benefit of foods that are benefiting your health, but it also ties into your mental wellness too. Eating foods that just make you happy. You get to have both aspects, especially when we're talking about understanding your body and what it needs. That's really whenever healthy eating becomes simple so that you don't feel that overwhelm and that restriction anymore. And so I have this podcast named Let's Talk Nourishment. And my business name is Nourished Revival, in case you don't know. And so, Nourish is a really big deal for me. So, I want to ask you, when I say the word nourish, what is coming to mind? There's a good chance that food is coming up. And food absolutely plays a role. But I think a nourished life goes so far beyond that. I think of a fulfilled life. Whenever you are nourishing your body, you're giving it all of the things that it needs so you feel your best, both physically and mentally, so you can live optimally and have that vitality to you. So, whenever you are listening to me, you're not going to hear me talk about dieting or restriction when it comes to healthy eating because I don't believe that fits with nourishing yourself. And we're going to be talking way more than just about the food that's on your plate because a nourished life comes down to the habits that you're doing each and every day. It's the little things that really make you you. So, you're going to get a mix of real life tips, relatable stories, and I'm also thrilled to have a lineup of guests ready to be sharing their perspective and the knowledge that they have with you as well. So, if you have felt overwhelmed, feeling like you need to do everything right, or there is a perfect way of eating, then you're in the right place. I'm so glad you're here. Especially because we are definitely not perfect here. If you are watching this right now, I am sitting just at my desk in my office at my house, and there is nothing fancy about it. There's no special equipment. It's just my laptop. I don't have anything on the wall behind me fancy other than my certification and my bachelor's degree. We keep it simple because I practice what I preach. When I want to make healthy eating simple, I want to make life simple in general because when things are simple, you can stick with it. It's so much easier. So, if you're trying to wait for everything to be right or everything to be perfect, you're going to keep waiting. You're going to be in this stuck feeling, and nobody wants to be like that. So, while creating this first podcast episode was something that was a little bit overwhelming to figure out and a little intimidating, I decided I wanted to do it. And here I am doing it because if you keep waiting, you're going to be waiting forever. You have to make a decision that you want something and you go for it. And so, my goal with you being here is that you feel more capable, more in control, more connected. And we bridge that gap between the person you want to be, the life that you want to live, and the action that is going to get you there. So, as we wrap up this first episode, I want you to reflect on, what does nourishment look like for you? What is your ultimate goal for the life that you want to live? And then think about why that matters. As I talked about, my why of, I want to live life to the fullest. Think about, what is your why? What does that look like? All right. Now, as we close out, I love to say that I love to talk with people, not talk to people. And of course, on a podcast, I'm just here talking to you. So please comment, let me know you're here, and tell me, a little bit more about what nourishment looks like for you.